as we think this morning on the worth of a woman, the worth of a woman. Proverbs 31, verse 10. An excellent wife, who can find? She is far more precious than jewels. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not harm all the days of her life. And then go down to verse 28. Her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many women have done excellently, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the gates. I also want to read to you from Proverbs 12:4 that says, an excellent wife is the crown to her husband. And then Genesis 2:18, then the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him. As a result of our time together this morning, I hope to see every man will find new reasons for treasuring his wife, and that every woman will thank God for her distinctive difference that she brings to a home. It was a wise and loving God who said, it is not good that man should be alone. But was she designed merely to provide a man with companionship, or does it go deeper than that? It goes deeper than that. He said, I will make him a helper fit for him. The Hebrew word for helper actually means completer. Completer. This same word is used throughout the Old Testament to talk about God being the one who completes what is lacking, or who does for us what we cannot do for ourselves. So one thing that should cause a husband to even more so value his wife is that God created her to help him in areas he isn't naturally equipped to handle. A wife, a mother, is divinely designed to bring strengths to the relationship and home that husbands and fathers just don't have themselves. Now, 3 areas this morning in which men and women are different, and why husbands should reevaluate their wives' giftedness and value are these. Wives and mothers are conversationally advanced. Amen? Wives and mothers are conversationally advanced. There was a study of 4-year-old boys and girls, and they recorded every noise that came out of their mouths over a period of time. And the conclusion was this: 100% of sounds made by girls had something to do with literal words. The 4-year-old girls spent a great deal of time talking to each other, and almost an equal amount of time talking to themselves. For the little boys, however, only 60% of sounds were literal words. The remaining 40% were simply noises and sound effects. So women are more verbal, but they also speak a different language than men. Men tend to be logical, factual, detail-oriented. So when a man runs out of facts to talk about in a conversation, he often stops talking, not into small talk. Men in general don't have as much of a need to share as deeply or consistently as do their wives, nor do they have the need to speak the same number of words. You've heard it reported before that some studies have shown that the average woman speaks roughly 25,000 words a day, while the average man speaks only 12,500. That's why a wife holds out her cup for conversation to her husband and often draws it back with very little in the cup. The woman has a great need for nourishment when it comes to meaningful conversation. In general, women love to share thoughts and dreams and feelings and goals. This same God-given ability also explains a woman's skill at being wonderfully sensitive to small things others are thinking, saying, or feeling. For you see, her desire for deep and meaningful relationships usually exceeds what the average man desires. Men, I've heard it said this way, Men are like two humped camels. They take a little conversation and go for days across the most difficult terrain without need for words. But a woman covering the same distance needs a daily filling of words to survive and flourish, and often a double portion during the really hard times. So if we men would understand this instead of criticize it, and even let her help us do the same, maritally we will benefit. And even physiologically, Dr. James Lynch says that effective communication skills can do wonders for a person's cardiovascular health. So men, save your marriage and save your health and learn from the worth of the woman that God gave. She's conversationally advanced. She's also environmentally sensitive. She's environmentally sensitive. Another strength of a woman is her ability to become personally involved with almost everything around her. That's why the average wife doesn't care about watching a football game or a race with her husband. There's nothing personal going on. It's just something on TV. And yet for a man to ask the wife to watch the game or the race is often his way of trying to communicate with her, sharing an experience. Men bond by doing things and not saying things. That's probably why sometimes the wife thinks he loves the game more than her, because he pays more attention sometimes to what's on the screen than her watching the game with her. So let me give guys a little bit of advice. Next time you're watching a game and you want your wife to watch with her, help personalize the game for her. But what I mean by that is take some of the players and tell her stories about the player and about certain things that she can relate to and identify with, and she'll appreciate watching the game a whole lot more with you. And if that doesn't work, just turn it off, record it, and go out with your wife. See, most women have a strong need for an emotional attachment to someone like her husband, or at least their environment, like their home. How strong is that? Well, in the United States alone, over 10 million romance novels will be purchased, 97% by women. Why is that? These stories offer a picture of intimacy that many yearn for and do not have. So you see, friction in the home can be caused when the man is unaware of his wife's tendency to personalize almost everything around her. Men tend to take certain things in their surroundings for granted. It's just a plant. It's just an animal. It's just a movie. It's just some wallpaper. But you got to think about, this is the woman's home. It's not just a house. It's her house. It's an extension of who she is, and she identifies with that. Think of a meal cooked by a wife. Those aren't just meat and potatoes. Those are her meat and potatoes. You know what I'm saying? So she identifies with that. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. So how can this benefit a man and a home? Because a woman's sensitivity to her environment makes her alert to things, and especially the people that surround us. A woman, a wife, a mother is like having a quality control expert in the home. Her heightened awareness of those around her rarely causes her to make a crucial relationship mistake that many men make it at work or at home. You know, I used to think that my mom had put hidden cameras all over the house. Well, she always knew. She always sensed things. She always knew things. Or that she had ESP and could read my mind. She was just always aware of things going on around the house that typically Dad didn't pick up on. And whereas most men have a one-track mind, they concentrate on one thing at a time, they compartmentalize their thinking. So that's why husbands get in trouble when they're asked by their wives, "Did you think about me today at work?" Well, because they were thinking about work. That's all they can think about. A woman's mind is equipped to monitor all the vital signs of a household. The average woman misses very little about her environment. which is why most wives hate to leave husbands at home with the kids alone. Some call it a woman's intuition, others call it a hunch, but I believe it's more than that. It's part of God's divine design. So wives and mothers are conversationally advanced, and they are environmentally sensitive, but they're also people-oriented. People-oriented, whereas men tend to be project-oriented. We're conquerors. Sometimes we are less concerned about people and feelings than we are about getting the job done. Men do this because we tend to derive our sense of worth from what we do. The better job we do, the better we feel about ourselves. But women, on the other hand, primarily derive their feelings of worth from those to whom they're related. If a woman is married, she looks to her husband more than any other individual for her personal sense of value and worth. One commentator put it this way: the natural concern for deep and loving relationships that a woman has can certainly be shared by a man, but it can also be more easily set aside by him as well. For example, you take the discipline of hunting. The average man can load up his high-powered rifle, go hunting, blow away one of God's beautiful creatures. Then he can cut off its head, stuff it, hang it on a wall, gather the neighbors around and triumphantly say, "I did that." But women have already made that deep emotional attachment to Bambi. So that when that sweet animal dies, a part of the woman hurts. Just kind of the difference between men and women. Or take another discipline of shopping. "Honey, I need to get me a new blouse, so will you take me shopping?" So the man goes to the mall to conquer, to find a blouse, to get a blouse, to get the blouse and go on. But what does the woman do? She goes to have an experience. She experiences the mall. She may get a blouse in the process, but she's going to experience the entire mall before she gets that blouse. She goes to have an experience. It's the same way with the discipline of driving. Men are always racing, trying to get from one point to another. Women are experiencing as they're driving. Since men are often more conquer-oriented than women, they usually tend to concentrate on the completion of a project regardless of the personal cost. That's why a man will ruin a home for a career and neglect his family for a dream. But because a woman's sense of value is so closely tied to all the relationships around her, she's often gifted in helping a man be more sensitive to what's really important beyond the immediate project at hand. I see this in my own family. My wife is extremely people-oriented, and she's able to pick up on things that I just don't see. And even with our kids, there's times where she'll say, "You need to spend more time. You need to talk with so-and-so, whatever, with your kids." And I'm thinking, I had no clue. But that's just the way wives and mothers and women are. They're people-oriented. They're environmentally sensitive. They're conversationally advanced. Men are relationally challenged and individuals. But one more thing. In every marriage, right under a man's roof, is one of the most priceless things God has given him, and that's a built-in marriage manual, which is his wife. She's a home improvement expert. Do you know the main reason why men are held back from a promotion at work? Technical skill? Rarely. Education? Occasionally. But the primary reason is their lack of relational skills. And yet most men don't realize that their wife is a goldmine of relational skills. You can learn from your wife how to improve your marriage, your home, and even your work. So husbands, realize first of all that your wife comes equipped with two tremendous inner strengths. She has a strong desire for a good and healthy relationship, and she has the natural ability to recognize a great relationship. So husbands, remember that, and then do yourself a favor for the sake of God, family, and country. Take some time this week to ask 3 questions of your wife. Number 1, on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being horrible and 10 being awesome, where would you like our relationship to be? Hopefully you'd want a 10. Then secondly, on a scale from 1 to 10, where would you rate our marriage today? Let me just say, a man will rate the marriage 2 or 3 points higher than the woman will, so don't let it shock you if you disagree on what that number might be. But whether or not you agree, honor one another by giving full attention and listening. And then, as you look at your relationship, what are some specific things you could do over the next 6 weeks that could move you and your wife's relationship closer to a 10? Make the atmosphere one in which you allow your wife to share her feelings. Don't be defensive. Reassure her of your love and security no matter what she says. If you love Christ, you will do whatever it takes to protect and strengthen your marriage. Listen, men, your willingness to listen to your wife and learn from her in no way jeopardizes or transfer your leadership or responsibility as the head of your home. Biblically, gentlemen, you can't escape it. But in order to be the type of loving leader God intends, you must allow your wife to fulfill her God-given function as a loving completer. By appreciating the unique and wonderful way God has created woman, we can add a richness and joy to our marriage that virtually everyone wants, but very few have. The secret is in learning to honor a woman as someone unmatched in God's creation, made especially by Him as a completer, one who completes what is lacking, for that is the worth of a woman.